Engine to the E36 all cleaned up. It's been on a stand for probably about a week and a half, or I honestly lost track of time. But you guys may not even remember what it looked like, and it's all dirty now, but completely degreased the block, cleaned the oil pan, degreased the oil pan, put an oil pan gasket on it, cleaned the head up and stuff. Threw these on. We have to get exhaust manifold gaskets for the rear too, because the other three are missing, but I figure we can put it in the car this way and I can throw those gaskets on after. I just want to keep the progress moving. Got new water pump in there, got the intake put on, through the alternator that came with the car on here. Got everything pretty much cleaned up. We painted the valve cover wrinkle black, which I feel like is better than just painting it black, I guess. Maybe it's ricey, I don't know. It's the first time I've ever used wrinkle black. I'm trying to go with something clean. I don't feel like painting or powder coating it or anything. If it was turboed or something, I was constantly popping the hood, I might care a little more. But so basically at this point, what we have to do is get this engine to where we can sit it down, and I can pull this off from the engine stand, and we can put our new flywheel on, because I bought a new flywheel and a new clutch. It's a stage 4 clutch. Not sure what that entails of. It's a really nice clutch, I know that. I think it can hold like 500, 600, 700 horsepower maybe. I just went overkill because we're gonna beat the absolute crap out of it, so might as well go with something that will most likely hold up to what we're doing. So yeah, really at this point, all we have to do is get the clutch and the flywheel on, all that stuff, and then we have to mate the transmission up and hope that we can find all the bell housing bolts, put the starter in, and then after all that, we can finally attempt to sit it in the car. Gotta figure out motor mount. I don't know much about the motor mounts or what they even look like, so I don't know if I have them or not. I believe I remember seeing them sitting in the bed of the Cummins or in the parts room back there. But if not, we'll probably have to order motor mounts, which means we will not be putting the engine in today. But yeah, I think I've caught you guys up for the most part. These engines, or BMWs in general, I think, are known for the oil pump nut backing off. And basically what happens is the oil pump gear sits on a set of splines, and the harmonics from the engine, or the design in general, I think it's because it's a stud and with a nut instead of a bolt, but they vibrate loose, and then obviously the gear walks off, you don't have oil pressure, next thing you know you don't have an engine, it's locked up, whatever. So I welded the nut. That's like the fix for it. We'll also sell kits where like you add a tensioner to the oil pump chain, and they swap the stud out for an actual bolt with a wire, like a safety wire to keep the bolt from spinning. But I just welded the shit out of it because there's no point in not welding the shit out of it. If the oil pump goes out, I'm gonna have to pull it apart regardless. So oil pump bolt is welded, so that shouldn't back off. And that is, of course, if this engine even runs or doesn't have an issue of some type. I was told that it runs. Nothing points to it not running. Oil looked good. I didn't see any like milkiness, and I didn't see any metal flakes in it, so we'll cross our fingers as far as that goes. Okay, so just like normal fashion, the main issue is the engine and stuff that came with the car and the transmission. There was no clutch or flywheel that came with it, and that's why we bought a new one. And then the engine we bought came with an automatic transmission. So the issue we're running into now is the new clutch I figured would come with pressure plate bolts. I honestly didn't even think about it. It came with flywheel bolts, which we have, but we do not have pressure plate bolts, which is what bolts through here and bolts it to the flywheel. So now we don't have those. The good news is I found a bolt that goes to the car, obviously, and it happens to be the exact length and thread pitch we need. So we're gonna run to Home Depot and see if we can get the right grade bolt. I believe these are hex heads. We'll see if we can find a hex head. We'll see if we can find Allen head ones. If we can't, then it's fine if we use one of these. There's no clearance issues. But the biggest thing is the strength of the bolt, because it does hold your clutch together. And the last thing you want is the clutch to come apart and come through the floorboard and chop my legs off. So we're gonna go try and find bolts real quick, and then after that, this should go together pretty easily, pretty smoothly. We got the flywheel on and got the clutch on for those that are doing this as well. The flywheel, from what I read, has to be torqued to 77 foot-pounds. And then the clutch itself only gets torqued to 18 foot-pounds. I put Loctite on both the flywheel and clutch bolts. Everyone says you don't need to do that or you shouldn't do that, but I'm just doing it for peace of mind. And I just used blue Loctite. I didn't use anything crazy. And then also you want to make sure that this comes in and out really smooth, you know, after tightening everything up. And then, so the bolts, if anyone needs these, it's M8. They're M8 by 1.25, and then they're 16 millimeters in length. I got 15 mil, and they reach just fine. They're not super short or anything. So those are good. Put our new throwout bearing on, greased everything up in there on the fork, put a little bit of grease on the splines. And so basically now I just got to figure out what bell housing bolts we need, and we'll start throwing this thing in there. Hopefully it slides together nice and smooth. I had a hell of a time on the BMW getting everything lined back up, but it was also, you know, on jack stands on the ground, and this should be a lot easier. This transmission's also a lot shorter, so we're gonna attempt to get this thing slid on there real quick, and hopefully that goes smooth. We'll bolt it up, throw the starter in, and then we can attempt to sit this thing in the car if I can find the motor mounts, which I haven't even looked for yet. So as I said, the whole motor mount thing, I'm an idiot. I should have looked. I do have motor mounts, but they're trashed. This one, the piece is completely ripped, and this one is on the verge of just completely separating. So unfortunately, none of the parts stores around me have them in stock. None of them can even get it till like Wednesday or Thursday. So I just went ahead and got on Amazon and ordered some. They won't be here for 3 days, so unfortunately this thing is pretty much stranded here for 3 days, which freaking sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. In the meantime, you know, we can kind of clean. The crappy part is there's really not a lot we can do. I can, you know, lower this side, get the wheels on this side, and you know, that's really all we can do. Aside from, we still need to get valve cover gaskets and an engine or exhaust manifold gasket, so maybe I'll just order those, because it'll probably take them out about the same amount of time, and then that way we have everything we need and we can get this thing up and going as soon as everything comes in. Sucks, but you know, it's always the stuff, it's always the like most important but smallest things that you forget, and you know, here we are. So I'm not gonna end the video here. I'm gonna probably continue it once the motor mounts come in. Yeah, once the motor mounts come in, we'll get this thing thrown in there and maybe crank it. I don't know, we'll see. I guess I'll see you guys when the motor mounts come in. Okay, so our motor mounts have came in. Also got trans mounts too, just because I figured I might as well. These are it. I don't believe they're side specific. I think they just go wherever. We did actually sit the engine in the car just because I was trying to clean up in here and I really wanted to get this area like starting to get organized. So I was like, oh, you know, I might as well jump the gun a little bit and sit the engine in the car. Now that might have caused us more of a nightmare, or it might not have. I know most of the time people don't even put the engine mounts on until it's in the car anyways because they get in the way. So I think now what we're gonna do, and by the way, without a self-adjusting like tilt hoist deal that you buy for engines to auto level them and stuff, it's a nightmare because for a lot of reasons. One of them being these engines going there basically crooked like this. Another reason is the oil pan on these are really bulky. It gets caught up on the steering shaft. So I'm not gonna lie, it was a complete nightmare getting this in there, especially by myself. So yeah, 110% don't suggest it, but hey, it's in there now. And so hopefully we can get those motor mounts on, get this engine secured in there, get the transmission secured in there, toss the drive shaft in, and then start plugging away on wires, put the intake on, all of that fun stuff, and then hopefully crank it over, try to get this thing to run. We use a little bit of YouTube magic, hopefully. Officially in and bolted down. The sucker does not move. I will tell you that I had to pull both engine mounts off and kind of mess with stuff, but it really wasn't that big of a pain. It's just a lot of like tweaking, moving, yada yada. Honestly, getting the transmission to bolt up to the mounts. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I was just chasing my dog around. Okay, yeah, getting the transmission to bolt up to the mount was probably more of a pain, and I'm glad I ordered new transmission bushings because the other side of this one's missing. Well, both of them were like that. So we got those on. We didn't have all the bolts for the transmission mount, so only 2 of them are in there right now, which it doesn't really matter because we don't have drive shaft bolts. We are missing the shifter rod bushing. That's completely gone. So we gotta order one of those. Gotta get drive shaft nuts. The bolts are there. I think that's it for underneath the car. So not really sweating it. I just wanted to get it in here and bolt it down so we can start plugging stuff in, try and crank the car over. So before I spend a bunch more money, well, I guess it doesn't matter because even if it rod knocks, I'm gonna have to buy another engine anyway. So we gotta buy it all regardless. But yeah, so basically at this point, we just have to figure out where all of these wires go. And the downside to, I don't know if new BMWs are like this, but the old BMWs, they literally use, well, these are all coil packs, so that's a bad example, but they use the same plug on everything. Literally. Like, everything is the same style plug. So, and usually, like, you could just kind of, wires like hold memory, so like you kind of, they'll fall where they need to. But this has been pulled out for so long, and the harness has been flopped over the fender for so long that they're no longer falling where they're supposed to be. So that's even more of a nightmare. I really don't even know where to start. I've figured out where one wire goes, and it's literally the alternator wire and the starter wire, and that's because they go to the same thing, and that's like common sense. So yeah, I know there's 2 knock sensors. I'm assuming this is something to do with coolant temperature. There's the crankshaft position sensor. I think there's even a camshaft position sensor. There's also a Vano solenoid plug. Yeah, so there seems to be a lot. I don't think there's any plugs on this side of it. No, there's not. The other thing that I'm really confused by, and this will be up before I'm even get close to putting this back together, so if you know, comment below. But for some reason, there's 2 throttle bodies here. There's this one, which looks like is the right one, and then there's this one, and it's plugged into the car. If this was just sitting here, I would just say, okay, he had some extra parts laying around, but it's plugged into the car, and the wires aren't even like long enough to go anywhere. Like, I'm really confused. I have no idea where that goes, or like I've got no idea. That's confusing. I'll have to look that up. I could be like totally stupid and that like goes somewhere downstream or something. I have no idea. But there's that. That I don't know, and then I don't know what this is. I think this is an intake air temperature, maybe, sensor. And then there's this guy, which I think just goes to this, or no, this needs to go to something too. I don't know. A lot of plugs. It'll probably take me, the fact that I even like said that I would try and crank this thing tonight is hysterical to me, because it's honestly gonna take me probably 2 or 3 days of solid like trying to figure out where stuff goes. So, not to mention like, I'm seeing a lot of coolant. I'm seeing a lot of like coolant ports and stuff, and I don't believe there's any of those hoses. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm assuming this is something to do with coolant. Yeah, it is, because I can see the ribbed. So that must go. Okay, so that must be the majority of that stuff. Here's the air box. Okay, so looking at this, it looks like that second throttle valve goes into this. What the hell? I've never seen. Yeah, it does. See the eccentric shape? So it does have 2 throttle valves. That's weird. I'm gonna have to do some research on that and like how that works and why it's like that. What the heck? I've never seen that. So that means there must be some hard pipe missing, because I don't see where the other side of that would mount. I don't know, that's confusing. Very weird. Oh wait, maybe not, hang on. Hang on. Yeah, no idea. I know this is a really long like clip, and you guys are probably tired of hearing me talk right now, but I'm just trying to bring you guys along on the confusion. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this video. The reason the car looks so weird is because it doesn't have the coilovers slammed on this side yet, but look, with the weight in the front of the car, look how low this thing is. I don't know if the rear is just as low and it just doesn't look as low because the fenders are cut, but if it stays this way, we're gonna have to either lower the front or the rear some more, or raise the front some. I don't know. The other crappy part is like this is just getting it running. Like, we don't even know if the brakes work, if the lines are rusty, like no idea. So there's so many things I have no clue about. Oh, the other thing, we need a steering linkage, this guy right here, because I think the kid like tried to smash it in or something, that like destroyed this, so we wouldn't be able to drive it anyways. So we got to get quite a few things before we can drive it. Not to mention this car has 0 exhaust, and I'm not like driving this thing on the road with no exhaust, because it's gonna be loud, because it has headers on it, so it's gonna be insane. So hopefully I can fab something up on my own with the exhaust. I was thinking about using what's left here and using that piece that goes to 1, because making that is going to be a little bit of a pain. So even if I have to cut it like 3 inches before and try and make that work, that's what I'll do. It looks like for the most part this exhaust system's a pretty much straight shot to the back. I want to say it comes out on the, I think it comes out on the right side. I can't remember. If it does come out on the right side, we'll be in good shape. But I know I keep talking. I'm gonna get off here, guys. Stay tuned for the next video. Hopefully in the next video we at least crank it over and it runs or something. I don't know, but stay tuned for the next one. Actually, I lied. The next video is probably gonna be the hard body, I think. Maybe, I don't know, you'll see. Deuces, guys.